I would like to call the meeting to order for Wednesday, October 11th. And Stephanie, would you please do the housekeeping?
I would be happy to. This commission meeting will be on Zoom via teleconference and held at the California Commission on Disability Access headquarters located at 400 R Street, Suite 312, Sacramento, California, 95811. Per Senate Bill 143, 2003, the Bagley-Keene teleconferencing restrictions have been suspended through December 31st, 2023. Therefore, commission members are not required to list their remote locations. Members of the public may participate via Zoom or teleconference from any location. This meeting is being captioned and recorded. To assist in this effort, please state your first and last name each time you speak and speak loud and clear. The stream text live captioning link has been included in the chat for your use, and staff can provide the link when asked. Public participants can use the raise hand function to alert the committee of when they would like to speak. And we will also give an opportunity for public members who have called into the meeting, at which time they can unmute themselves. If you are attending this meeting via teleconference, please press *6 on your keypad to unmute or mute yourself. If you would like to alert CCDA, press *9 to telephonically raise your hand and the staff will call on you. To use the raise hand function, please follow these steps. If you're using Zoom via web browser, first click on the icon labeled Reactions in the toolbar on the bottom center of your screen. After clicking Reactions, a new window will show on your screen. At the bottom right of the screen, there will be a button labeled Raise Hand. If you are using Zoom via a mobile device, click on this 3 sideways dots labeled More. The More option is the toolbar on the bottom right corner of the screen. After clicking More, a new window will pop up at the bottom of your screen, and then press Raise Hand. Please remember to mute yourself if you are not speaking in order to reduce noise. If you are having technical issues throughout the meeting and need assistance, please use the chat function to alert CCDA staff or email ccda@dgs.ca.gov. All right, and back to Vice Chair Holloway.
Sorry, I believe the CCDA office might be muted. I can't hear anybody.
Right. Sorry,
this is Ben Conway.
Okay, agenda item number 1 is roll call, and Stephanie, would you lead us off in that?
I would be happy to. All right, so we will be doing a roll call vote to establish quorum. List of commissioners, Chair Commissioner Downey, Vice Chair Commissioner Holloway,
Present.
Vice Chair Commissioner Holloway,
Present.
present, right? Commissioner Dillard,
Present.
Commissioner Elhessen, Commissioner Elhessen, Commissioner Lemus, Commissioner Lemus. All right. So we have established quorum with 3 members present.
Okay, thank you very much. And we have no commissioners present in the room, and it appears that we have no public members in the room presently. We'll see how that goes during the rest of the meeting. So let's see. Are there any other commissioners that may have popped on virtually that need to be identified? If
Yes.
you have just logged in, please let us know.
We have Commissioner Profaso joining us today.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, no other items on this particular matter. We'll go to number 2, which is approval of the July 12th meeting minutes. And hopefully everybody's had a chance to look at the executive committee meeting minutes of the 12th of July. Are there any questions or comments or changes to those minutes? None appearing. So anyone from the executive committee virtually have any comments? Okay, any of the members of the public who are on the virtual meeting, do you have any comments or changes? And there's no public members again in the room. So it would be the pleasure of the chair to have a motion and a second to approve the minutes.
Commissioner Lillibridge, I'll move to approve the minutes.
Commissioner Dillard, the second.
Great. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. And Stephanie, would you please call the roll?
I would be happy to. I will also like to make note that Commissioner L. Hessen just joined the meeting as well.
Welcome, Commissioner.
So roll call, Commissioner Downey, Commissioner Holloway,
Aye.
Commissioner Dillard,
Aye.
Commissioner Al Hessen, Commissioner Al Hessen. We will forego that for a moment. Commissioner Lemus. And Commissioner Lillibridge.
Aye.
Commissioner Lillibridge.
Aye.
Are you muted in the office?
No, he's not muted.
I'm totally green.
Okay,
You almost have to have the mic up your nose to be heard.
apologies. So I believe that was, is that an yes from Lillibridge?
It's an aye, yes.
All right, excellent. And then just rounding back, Commissioner Al Hessen, we are voting for the minutes from July 12th.
Yes, I'm here. Sorry, I had a hard time logging in. Thank
All
you.
good?
Yes, I approve.
All right. So Commissioner Holloway, the minutes have been approved with the votes of 4 present members.
Thank you very much. All right. At this point in time, we would like to take comments from the public on any issues that they would like to talk about that are not on today's agenda. So we only have public members online. And so if anybody from the public would like to comment about something that's not on the agenda, please do so at this time.
Check.
Do we have any comments from the public virtually?
Commissioner Holloway, we do not have any hands raised or chat from members of the public at this time.
Perfect. Okay. Well, let's move on to item number 4, which is Executive Director Report and Financial Report Update and Discussion. I would just like to mention that our Executive Director, April Dawson, is not here today, and we wish her a speedy recovery.
Thank you, Vice Chair Holloway. This is April speaking. Under normal circumstances, I would be on camera and even better there with you, but I am unwell today. And so as many people who have disabilities and are leaders, I am joining with my camera off and via Zoom. And so I will start with my executive director report. For those of you who are new voices in the room, this is where I share with the executive committee some of the high level things that are going on with the commission and get their feedback and thoughts. I first want to have you all welcome me, or excuse me, join me in welcoming Commissioner Dr. Luciana Prefazza. Commissioner Dr. Prefazza is a governor appointee to the commission representing the disability community, and she introduced herself prior to the recording being started. So welcome to our commission. We're so happy to have you. And
I'm thrilled to be among you. Thank you.
Thank you. And we will be officially pinning her at our October full commission meeting in Los Angeles at the end of this month. I want to share that the CCDA partnered with the City of San Jose and the California Business Properties Association to put on a listening forum on August 31st. This was our first listening forum since 2019. It was attended by 40 representatives from the business, disability, and local government communities. Attendees learned more about business access compliance, as well as a grant opportunity for small businesses within the city of San Jose to help with access improvement funding. We also co-hosted a webinar on October 2nd with the Pacific ADA Center geared towards small businesses, which was focused on compliance and customer service basics, that was attended by 56 people. Attendees learned more about Title III of the ADA and tips for prioritizing accessibility at small businesses. I am happy to say that we are a full commission. There are no vacancies on the commission. Now everyone has been appointed to their spots and filled the pieces of the puzzle that they're meant to fill. So we're very happy that we have a full commission. I want to share that for those commissioners with terms expiring at the end of the year, the appointment authorities have been in touch with me, and we're in the process of gathering information so that the appointing authorities, which is the governor, the Senate Committee on Rules, and the Speaker of the Assembly, can make their decisions about reappointing those commissioners. And we also have 2 recent governor appointees who will be requiring Senate confirmation, and I will be assisting those appointees with that process. I also want to share that we're getting closer to filling our 2 open positions. We have an open position for an SSA AGPA which is a hybrid position, so that the person can start as a staff services analyst and have room to grow into an AGPA. And that's moving through the process with CalHR. And then we also have a office tech position that has been open for some time that we have looked at filling, and Phil and I have made some decisions on that, on what we need, and we'll be posting that soon as well. I also want to share that I've continued my monthly meetings with Chair Downey, Vice Chair Holloway, and I also meet with Commissioner Claire, who is also the state architect, on a monthly basis to discuss the projects that we have in common. I also had a chance to touch base with Commissioner Ramirez, Commissioner Shapiro, and Commissioner Dr. Profatsa since our last executive committee meeting. And I also had a conversation with Senator Nilo's office, and represented the CCDA on the Access Code Collaborative, which is a group of people who are code users and code developers of the California Building Code, who get together and have an opportunity to talk about proposed changes to the building code before they're presented for formal rulemaking. So it's a great opportunity to be on the ground floor of that rulemaking process. And CCDA has an ex officio seat on that. And I also gave presentations about the CCDA to the Area Agency on Aging Area 4, the Berkeley Commission on Disability, the County of Monterey Commission on Disability, and an organization called SCORE Silicon Valley, which is an organization that's sponsored by the Small Business Administration. And apparently they have over 700 chapters across the United States, or excuse me, across California, where they talk about issues related to small business. And so I came to them and talked to them about ways that they can educate their members about access to small businesses for people with disabilities. That is my narrative report. And next I will go to the financials, and then I will take all the questions at the end. On the screen, there is a picture of our fiscal year 22-23 year-end financial report. And this was prepared for me last week by the budgets team at DGS. And there are a few adjustments that they said may need to be made, but they believe that they're minor. So the financials I'm presenting to you today should represent the actual pretty close to what I'm sharing with you today will end up being the actuals. And I'm actually going to stop looking at the screen and look at my paper. So first, let's talk about our budget authority and what our budget for the fiscal year that ended on June 30th of 2023 is. So our total budget authority is $1,731,000 for last fiscal year that just ended on June 30th. And for personal services, that's things like salaries and wages, benefits. We had a budget of $799,000, and of that, we spent $580,750, which is 73% of the budget that we were allocated. That the reason it's not closer to 100% could be because we have 2 open positions, and because of those 2 open positions. Under operating expenditures and equipment, that's the day-to-day things we need to run our commission, like general expenses, printing, insurance. We were underspent in several categories, and I'm actually going to be having a deeper conversation with budgets in the coming days. I wasn't able to this week, just to be able to figure out why that spending looks a little low, because I know we're doing a lot of things. We were budgeted $932,000, but our actuals, including encumbrances, was $309,462, which is 33% of the budget. And last fiscal year end, we had spent $613,814. And so I'd like to get a little deeper dive about that and confirm that by next meeting. I'd also like to share that it's normal when I give budget reports, it's normal to be to be sharing the budget that happened 2 quarters away from where we are now. So for example, we are a July through June fiscal year with the state of California. So we are now in quarter 2, but I'm giving numbers for the year end of the prior fiscal year, and there's nothing to be alarmed about that. It takes a while to get those numbers together. So if I'm more than 3 quarters in arrears of giving you numbers, that should be a cause for concern. I also want to share, and this isn't reflected on the screen, but our high frequency litigant fund, we have started to expend funds from that fund. So that fund comes from court fees that are paid by those who are statutorily designated as high frequency litigants. And we have almost $400,000 in that fund. And to date, we have spent around $85,000, and that's from this part of that was from the San Jose Listening Forum, and then part of that was a contract that we're going to be using over the next year for language access. So we'll be able to translate all of our materials, as well as our flyers, our brochures, our toolkits, and into other languages, as well as provide language access to those attending our listening forums as our commitment toward our commitment to equity, as well as to acknowledge that not every, that most of the people that we're serving in the small business community are people who don't necessarily speak English, or some are born outside of the United States. And so we want to make sure that we're using the languages that they speak and reaching out to those communities effectively. So we're putting our dollars where that commitment is. That concludes my report, and I'm happy to expand on any further information. And I apologize, I see the note from the captioner. I can clarify any numbers that you missed, and I'll do a better job of slowing down. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Executive Director Dawson. Are there any questions from the executive committee members online regarding Ms. Dawson's report?
This is Commissioner Dillard. Quick question, departmental services. What type of items do that include? 'Cause that seems to be the line item that has the biggest difference.
Thank you, Commissioner Dillard. I believe, and I will confirm this, I don't believe we have someone from budgets on today, and if we do, please raise your hand. But I believe that that is the pro rata share of all of the things that we need, such as legal and other services. And there's a pro rata share that everyone in DGS has to pay for all of those. And I believe that that's that. But I will confirm that.
Okay. So you-
And I'll make sure that by the next meeting, I get that answer for you.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Director Dawson. Any other questions from commissioners?
I would like to make a comment if I might, and I also have a question. My comment is this: I had the opportunity to attend two events, the Disability Forum in San Jose, as well as the webinar that we did with the Pacific Law Center and Jan Garrett. And I was just so impressed with the quality of April's presentation, how articulate, well-informed she was. And I just want to add my voice of applause for her outstanding performance in both of those events. And what I also noticed was that the rest of our staff were there to provide support, and they were engaged and so involved. And I just want to, as a new member from the outside watching what was going on at both of these events, I was just very proud to become part of this commission. It's just so professionally run, and I just wanted to make that comment as a newbie in this commission. That was my comment. My question is, you mentioned the $400,000 in the high frequency litigants fund. And may I ask, what are the plans for other uses? How might those funds be used other than in language access, and how you've been using them so far?
Thank you, Commissioner Dr. Capazza. This is April, and thank you for your kind words. It was wonderful having you at both of those events and lending your support in your just so early on and being a part of our commission. In terms of your question, back in April, the commission, at the full commission meeting in Los Angeles, I presented a work plan for the commissioners to approve, and they did so. And part of that was for language access and listening forums. And we launched an initiative that started in San Jose to utilize the high frequency litigant fund for mostly community engagement. And so the majority of how the money is going to be spent is going to be through contracts related to that engagement. And that 68,000 that has to do, which is part of the 85 that we've already spent down, is part of a larger contract that's just been split up in a 3-year cycle. And so we're going to be utilizing it mostly for community engagement and also for finalizing our toolkits. We have a couple of toolkits that are either almost finished or that are being conceived to be released in 2024 and 2025. And so some of that funding will go towards graphic design and editing and community engagement related to those, as well as putting on the webinars like the ones you saw with the Pacific ADA. And the way that the high frequency litigant funding structure works is that all of the funds have to be encumbered by June 30th of 2024 and spent down by June 30th, 2026. Let me know if I didn't answer your question. And I'm happy to go into further detail about the work plan. I can actually do a refresher at the full commission.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Dr. Provoca. We also concur with your assessment of those events that you attended, and I wanted to thank you for jumping in early right away and attending those as a new commissioner. We really appreciate that. Appreciate the positive thoughts as well. Okay, any other comments on this matter from our commissioners?
Commissioner Holloway, there is a message from ex officio Conway welcoming Commissioner Dr. Profasa to the commission.
Thank you very much. Okay, do we have any comments on the director's report from members of the public virtually?
Commissioner Holloway, at this time, there are no hands raised or comments from the public attending virtually.
Thank you. And so with no further comments, let's move on to item number 5, which is the bylaws presentation and discussion. And this will be Executive Director Dawson.
Thank you, Vice Chair Holloway. This is Executive Director Rachel Dawson speaking. And in case anyone has come in late, I just wanted to share that I am unwell today, and so I will be attending virtually and having my camera off. And I had originally intended for this item to be an interactive work session. So just to pull back, it's actually in our bylaws that the executive committee's role is to make sure that the bylaws are up to date and evaluated on a regular basis. And the commission made a commitment in 2021 to make sure that every 2 years we updated our bylaws. And so staff has been working for several weeks on making some updated changes to the bylaws. I presented a high-level summary of it at the last executive committee meeting. We are hoping that we can have the bylaws completed and passed out of the executive committee by early 2024 for the full commission to approve, so that we're on target with our commitment to make sure that the bylaws are accurate and that we are evaluating the bylaws regularly, and the bylaws are our governing, document. And so I had originally planned for this to be a really interactive discussion. However, I had a conversation with our attorney who's unable to be here today, and there were a couple of edits that staff had made that they wanted to make some further comments on. So they advised that what I should do instead, since some of those comments that legal is going to be making might materially change a lot of the staff edits, is that since we did give the executive committee and the public a chance to read the document and think about the bylaws, if we could instead take comments about things that the executive committee or other commissioners or the public feel is important for our bylaws, we can take those notes. And then once we finalize the conversation with legal and incorporate any comments from this meeting, we can then have the in-depth work session on the final edits that I was planning to have today. So that is my proposal for how we approach this, a little different than I had originally envisioned. But if that's okay, if people have had a chance to read it, or have just been thinking about the bylaws in general, if we could take some general comments, and then we'll have a more in-depth discussion at the next meeting once legal has weighed in further.
That sounds fine with me. And I'm getting a head shake from, or head nod from Commissioner Lillibridge. Any objections to that procedure from our commissioners? None appearing. Any concerns from the public on proceeding in that manner? Okay, why don't we do this for commissioners attending virtually? And presently, if you have any questions or recommended language changes to the bylaws, now would be a good time to bring those forward. So I'll start with Commissioner Lillibridge.
Yeah, this is Commissioner Lillibridge. Hopefully you can all hear me. think my microphone's working. I think overall, I love the revisions and additions to the bylaw. I think it creates a lot of clarity and more definition to some of the roles and whatnot. I think the only comment I really have, which kind of falls under the category of picking at nits, is there seems to be interchangeable use of the words committee and subcommittee. So I think I would just make a recommendation to look at that carefully and be more consistent in those terms.
Thank you very much. Any other commissioners attending virtually have questions or suggested language changes or additions to the bylaws? None appearing. I have a few, and I'd start with page 5, item 4.4. This is language about a quorum, and it talks about a majority of appointed and voting members of the CCDA shall constitute a quorum. I think we need to add the word attending, that you may be voting and you might be appointed, but you might not be here, so you're not really part of the quorum. So attending in person or virtually maybe is a suggested add. And then on page 6 of number 14, going to item 4.7, in terms of public comment, it's customary now to have in the bylaws or operating documents that the chair may limit the time of public comments. So I'm not saying any particular amount of time, but we ought to have the authority to, if we had a huge crowd or a very controversial item or lots and lots of speakers, to limit the time per speaker. So I would suggest that add as well. And then on page 7, item 5.3, it's a discussion about vacancies. And I think it might be prudent because it's customary with most organizations that if a member misses a certain number of meetings in a row, that they automatically lose their seat or vacate the seat. And sometimes there's a grace period that can be considered, but I think that might be a prudent add because it's customary in most organizations. And that is the last of my suggested edits. Any other comments or thoughts on any of the suggested items or questions about the bylaws at this time by either commissioners or the public?
This is Commissioner O'Hesson. I just wanted to comment on one of your recommendations, and that had to do with basis of a quorum, whether it's on virtual or in person. I think there's some recent legislation that is coming up that might have influence on how that's written, because I think it's being reworded to be more inclusive for members with disabilities to be included as part of the forum virtually. Correct me if I'm wrong, April, but I think that's something that I know also Disability Rights Organization was looking at.
Phil, did you have a question? Okay, yeah, well, let's see what the staff and the legal counsel think about that pending legislation. We definitely want to be sure that we're inclusive, but we need to follow the law too.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments on this matter?
Commissioner Dillard. Again, in response to one of your recommendations as it relates to timing, allowing a certain time for the public to speak, I agree with your direction. I belong to several committees where we determine based on the number of people in the audience who might have questions, how much time we might give them. Generally, sometimes we start off with allowing individuals to talk for a few minutes, But based on the number, we might, limit that to only 1 minute or two. So I think that's pretty standard. So I agree with your suggestion.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Oh, any other committee members or members of the public have thoughts, questions, additions to the bylaws?
Commissioner Holloway, there are no hands raised or comments from other commissioners or members of the public attending virtually at this time.
Okay, thank you very much. With that, let's move on to agenda item number 6, which is the CCDA Strategic Plan Review and Discussion, and Executive Director Dawson.
Thank you, Vice Chair Commissioner Holloway. This is April. I just wanted to bring to the Executive Committee's attention that our current strategic plan is actually going to be expiring at the end of this fiscal year. And so it's time for the Executive Committee to start thinking about our next strategic plan. And from my experience working with boards and commissions in the past, both as a member and a executive officer, a strategic plan is really supposed to be, a living document. And it occurred to me that, the document was created before I came on board. I understand that the commission had a consultant and created it. But one of the things that I started to realize is that we don't really talk about it, and we don't really make it a living part of our of the way that we discuss it, and we don't bring it up regularly. And so I wanted to make a suggestion that we make the strategic plan discussion a regular part of our executive and full committee meetings. When I review the current strategic plan that's about to expire, I know we've done those things and I know that we're living it, but we don't discuss it and make sure we're keeping ourselves on task and think about ways that it could be a living document for the way that we live our values. And so I know that at the full commission meeting, which I'll be talking about a little bit later, we're going to be having a conversation about equity and what our equity mission statement is. And that could be a part of our strategic plan. But I just wanted to post to the executive committee ideas for how you think we should go about developing our next strategic plan and how we can make sure that we're making sure that it stays a living document and lives with us and breathes with us, and that we continue to measure its effectiveness together.
This is Commissioner O'Hesson. I love the idea. Thank you, April. And I think it's a good idea to form, I think, a subcommittee of commissioners to be more directly involved in the strategic plan, especially since we're moving forward in having it be included as part of our planning for the year and what topics and what issues that we're going to be moving forward on.
Thank you.
I think that's a good idea. And maybe Dr. Ellison just volunteered to chair that subcommittee. Does that sound like a good idea?
That's my pleasure to be of service to the commission.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Ryan, you're so naughty.
Of course.
This is
Any other commissioners?
This is Commissioner Lillibridge. I definitely agree that a subcommittee, a strategic planning kind of core team, if you will, is formed. But I also highly recommend that a consultant, a professional consultant, be utilized to help facilitate that process. I'll just say personally, our company just went through a strategic planning process, and without someone who is professional that can herd all the chickens, it would be a long, lengthy process. So that's my recommendation, to continue using some kind of a consultant.
Okay, so maybe for the full board meeting, Executive Director Dawson could come back with a structure and a plan for that strategic planning effort. Any thoughts from commissioners and the general public or public guests today? On
Yeah,
that?
this is Commissioner Dillard. I know we all kind of go through this with other organizations. I'm just wondering, I don't feel very strong about it, but I'm just wondering because a lot of organizations, they're very small, like ours, and you have the same players in different subcommittees. I'm just wondering, should this take place at the executive level versus creating another committee, which most likely are going to be the executive members anyway? Just a thought.
Interesting idea. Let's, why don't we have Executive Dawson consider that when she brings some recommendations back at the full board meeting. And you know, we might consider having some of our interested public members participate in that as well. You know, if the internal participants of an organization look at forward planning, sometimes they get great ideas when people who are involved but not necessarily insiders provide input as well. So something else to add into consideration. Any other thoughts on this from executive committee members or our public guests?
Commissioner Hassan, you still have your hand raised. Do you have another comment on this item? No, with no response from Commissioner El-Hassan, no one else has made comment or has their hand raised from commissioners at this time.
Okay, thank you. With no further comments, let's move on to agenda item number 7, which is current projects update and discussion. Executive Director Dawson.
Thank you, Vice Chair, Commissioner Holloway. I just wanted to give the executive committee an update about what we're all working on. I'm really proud of our staff for all the hard work that they're doing to operationalize all of the strategy and thoughts and engagement that you all do and work so hard to do as commissioners. So there's a few things that we're working on right now. We are coming to the home stretch of our accessible parking toolkit project, and excitedly, we could see on the horizon the time when we are going to release it to the public and do our outreach phase. So we contracted with the Real Estate Services Division at the Department of General Services to work with 2 CASPs on their staff. That stands for Certified Access Specialists, to work with staff, the Division of the State Architect, and the stakeholder groups that met for the better part of 2020 through 2022 and 2023 on those drafts. And we have come up with what we think is a pretty close to a final draft. We are going to be reconvening our construction as well as business owners and operator stakeholder groups for the toolkit project next week. And we will take their final comments and RESD will incorporate them, and then they will be reviewed again by the state architect's office as well as the Office of Public Affairs with DGS. And then once they're approved, we will be able to finalize the formatting and take them to the full commission. And our goal is to have the full commission approve the toolkits in early 2024 so that we can dedicate the better part of 2024 toward the outreach phase. And for those of you who are new voices to our meeting, welcome. I just want to share that the accessible parking toolkit really came out of some legislation, AB 2917, which asked us to create these toolkits to educate businesses and the construction industry about making sure parking was accessible to, parking structures and other things was accessible to people with disabilities, and to also include exterior passive travel into that as well. And so that is what I'm referring to when I talk about the toolkits. There is also a business listing that the full commission approved a few meetings ago, and that is actually going to be sort of more of a two, three pager, like almost a mini version of some of the information in the accessible parking toolkit, just an overview of, what are the common violations related to disability access, not just about parking, but globally. And it's just more like a pocket guide for businesses to just literally take out of their pocket and look at and educate their members about. And we think that that'll be a really great way to give really synthesized but meaty information and information about how they can learn more about the information in more detail. And so we are coming close to having that reviewed as well. And again, in 2024, being able to release that and operationalize that to our stakeholders. We are also, I mentioned earlier that we kicked off a partnership with the Pacific ADA Center, where we're going to be putting on quarterly webinars. We started with a lunch and learn, which seemed pretty popular, but we also received feedback that a lot of business owners would like to meet at the end of the workday, so that they don't have to take, because many business owners can't take time off work to attend webinars because they're running their business. And so the first one, as I mentioned, was on customer service and Title III of the ADA. And we'd like to do a deeper dive into some other topics related to business and access. And we're going to also include some special guests at the webinars as well. And so if you have ideas for that, please let me know. We're working on the schedule for 2024 for our quarterly partnership with Pacific ADA Center. We also are going to be putting on a follow-up webinar to our listening forum in San Jose. So I'm really excited that there were many people who shared that they would have liked to have come to meeting, but they for either access reasons or timing or scheduling reasons, they really wanted the information given via a webinar. And so we're going to have a webinar on tentatively scheduled for November 6th, and I'll be sending more information out about that soon, which is similar. It'll be the same information given at the listening forum, but in a more condensed format. There'll still be a Q&A period and an opportunity for the public to ask their access questions, and also for the city of San Jose to educate the public about their grant program for small businesses for ADA access remediations. And I've also been actively meeting with municipalities, including the city of Sunnyvale and the county of Monterey, to plan for future listening forums for 2024. And we are finalizing that schedule, and by the full commission meeting at the end of the month, I'll be able to share more specific information on the exact municipalities and the quarter we'll be doing the forums. And I'll be reaching out to commissioners in each of those regions and asking that you all play a role in either as a moderator or as a panelist or attendee, or as a connector to bring people to those forums with your connections. So we have a lot going on. That's not an exhaustive list of everything we're doing, but we're certainly busy and really excited to be operationalizing and living the work that we do out in the community and taking the information to the communities that need it the most to increase access for people with disabilities. And happy to take questions or comments. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Executive Director Dawson. Do we have any questions from the executive committee members on a very thorough report by Dr. Dawson? Anyone in the public have any comments or questions regarding Executive Director Dawson's report?
Commissioner L. Hessen has Dr. L. Hessen has her hand raised right now.
Hi, yes. I wanted to ask, I love the idea for forum, especially for our small businesses. So are we going to like, I was thinking of our city specifically because there've been lots of questions coming to me in regards to access. Are we going to be able to put it at the local chambers so they can be involved
Thank you.
or participate?
Yes, sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Dr. O'Hesson. This is April. We have included.
Executive Director Dawson, your audio is muffled.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll move a little bit closer to the computer speaker. Can you hear me now, Stephanie?
I
Yes.
can, yes.
Okay, sorry. I'm sorry about that. Thank you, Commissioner Dr. O'Hesson. That's a great idea. We have been in the communities that we have been talking to. We are working with their chamber representatives. A lot of times what happens is that each city and county has a economic development department, and many of them have been going to the chambers and the small business development groups, and sometimes inviting us to give those presentations along with them to advertise our forum. That's what we did in San Jose, is that a lot of the internal staff at the city were the ones who conducted the outreach, since they knew who was in their community, and that did include the chambers, as well as some of the.
Okay.
So we are doing that as part of our strategy for sure. And I should have also mentioned that the California Business Properties Association is a key partner in our forums as well, and so they have a wide reach with those organizations. But in terms of the smaller, more localized ones, definitely the small business development groups and the different types of chambers are also involved in the outreach as well.
Okay, great. Thank you for the clarification.
Okay, thank you. All right, any other last questions?
Yeah, this is Commissioner Lillibridge. This is a question for Executive Director Dawson on the ADA parking pocket guide. I think you mentioned the toolkit for that. Did you happen to mention how that document is going to get distributed far and wide?
Thank you. That's a great question. And so the business listing is going to include information about accessible parking, but it's also going to talk about restrooms and some other issues that came from our data about access, just to give the businesses sort of a quick snapshot of what they need to think about, and then further resources. So we have had some preliminary discussions, but what we'd like to do is, after the business listing is finalized, really utilize the stakeholder groups and show it to them and ask them what they think, and then I could see us doing webinars where we talk about it, and we're definitely going to translate it into different languages, and also utilizing the Contractor State License Board and some of the other, as well as trade organizations that are a part of our commission's work that have that reach, because we really want to hear how it will best be distributed by them and not make assumptions. So there's definitely going to be a period of discussion about that. And if you have suggestions, I'm happy to hear them. But those are some of the ideas that I've had about how to do that.
Okay, thank you. All right, without any further questions, then we will move on to item number 8, which is the annual report, update, and discussion. Executive Director Dawson.
Thank you. I just want to share that our 2022 annual report to the state legislature has been released to everyone who is statutorily obligated to receive it, and it's in print. And we will be making sure that the commission has copies of it. And for those of you who don't know what that is, every year we produce an annual report as part of our statutory obligation. And what we do is we collect information from our legal portal from cases that are submitted to us by attorneys and law firms who are submitting alleged disability access violation claims through federal or state court. And due to legislation, we not only collect construction-related alleged disability access violations, but we now, starting this year, started collecting alleged disability access violations related to websites and business access related to websites. And so we take that information and we are able to share what the top 10 alleged disability access violations are, as well as what are the top 10 zip codes and the top 10 law firms where that is happening. And we use that data to target our programming. So for example, in our 2021 annual report, we found that the majority of the cases we received were either in San Jose or on the peninsula. So that gave us the idea to reach out to that community and give them support with their business access strategies and deliverables. And at the full commission meeting, I'll talk a little bit more about some of the data that we gleaned from 2022, but I just wanted to share with the executive committee that we have met our obligation for 2022. We're getting an earlier start for 2023, and we have staff working on the components of the 2023 annual report so that by March of 2024, we'll be able to have that hopefully finalized. This year we were a little bit later just due to some operational challenges and me being new, but we are on a task to do it a little bit earlier this year. So I just wanted to share that. And I always receive feedback that the annual report is used by trade organizations and individuals to really, and business owners to really learn about some of the things that they may not have thought of related to access. And so it's a valuable tool. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Executive Director Dawson. Do we have any questions or comments from Executive Committee members present or virtual at this time?
Commissioner Holloway, at this time, there are no comments in the chat or hands raised from commissioners attending.
Hey, thank you, Stephanie. How about from our public guests? Do we have any comments or suggestions?
Commissioner Holloway, at this time, there are no hands raised or comments from the public.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. With no further comments, let's move on to item number 9, which is the San Jose Listening Forum recap, update, and discussion. Executive Director Dawson.
Thank you, Vice Chair Holloway. Well, I know I sort of sprinkled the listening forum discussion into other topics, and so I don't want to take up a lot of time other than to say it was very successful. It was attended by over 40 people, and it was held on August 31st at San Jose City Hall, and we had representatives from CCDA, the City of San Jose. We had a few commissioners in attendance. We also had, it was moderated by Commissioner Sarah Ann Shapiro. So we thank her for doing that. We also had the state architect there, a few local certified access specialists, and we had a lot of small business owners. And the thing that I think was the most successful to me is that we brought some new voices to the table. We also had the County of Santa Clara's Office of Disability Affairs, the city's Office of Disability Affairs, as well as a small business representative who is also a parent to a child with a disability who served on our panel, as well as the executive director of the local Center for Independent Living on the panel as well. And getting back to my comment about new voices, what I was really impressed by was we had a pretty substantial Q&A session, and it wasn't just people who, you know, were already doing what they were supposed to be doing and talking about that. They actually were people who came seeking answers and had heard about the forum from the outreach that the city helped us do. And so I'm really hoping that we're able to replicate that in other communities that we go to forums, put on forums alongside, is is reaching out to the people who really need the information the most. And all of the people that spoke really wanted to do the right thing, but weren't quite sure where to start, and asked some really insightful questions. And so that was what I thought was the most successful part of the forum, that we brought people that we hadn't seen before outside of our regular network to talk about access and take that information back to their businesses to make improvements. And we also made sure that the city of San Jose was able to spotlight their grant program for small businesses to use for access improvements. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Executive Director Dawson. From executive committee members in present and online, any questions on that report?
Commissioner Holloway, at this time, there are no hands raised or comments from members of the commission.
Okay, questions and thoughts from our members of the public attending virtually?
Commissioner Holloway, there are no hands raised or comments from members of the public.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. Let's move on to item number 10, which is the proposed 2024 meeting calendar.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Commissioner Holloway, this is Executive Director Dawson. I'm on my laptop, so I'm actually going to be moving. I'm not going to see you for a second so that I could actually look at the whole calendar. So what we have on the screen is an image of the proposed 2024 CCDA meeting calendar. And I got together with staff and also spoke to Chair Downey about this draft. And I would like to just share with you a couple of thoughts that we have about how to really change the way that we're meeting throughout the year. And also to make sure that we're doing our most effective job out in the community. And I'd love to take your comments after my presentation on it so that we can incorporate those and prepare for a vote at the full commission meeting in October and at the end of October, where we will adopt the calendar. So you don't have to adopt the calendar today, just give some feedback if you would. So typically we have had 4 full commission meetings a year, and we have had them quarterly. According to statute, it's the body that gets to decide how and when and where we meet and how often. So it is not statutorily prescribed how often the commission has to meet. So normally in past years, we have had our first full commission meeting in January. We propose a change to that. We propose that in 2024, we have our first full commission meeting at the end of March. The reason we propose that is that we have 2 listening forums planned for the Central Coast and another one in the Bay Area for January and February. And we also are working on finalizing the 3 toolkits, the 2 toolkits plus the business listing that I mentioned earlier, as well as finalizing our annual report. And these are all ways that we live in the community in between our meetings. So at our meetings, I like to think of our meetings as a place of gathering and thinking about what we want to operationalize. And then in between those, we live that. So we believe that we would be more effective if we could change the calendar to have our first executive committee at the beginning of March and our first full commission meeting at the end of March. Also, rather than having 3 subcommittees every year, we propose to have 2. We looked at our data of attendance we looked at our attendance and engagement data, as well as some of the proposed changes to the public meeting laws that we're subject to. And we believe that this would be the most effective use of the commissioner's time to reduce those. And then again, in between those meetings, engage the commissioners in the work in the community, such as with our listening forums and our projects. So if this proposed committee meeting calendar is adopted at the end of this month, it would mean that we would start our full commission meeting cycle at the end of March and have a meeting in March, June, and October. And then our executive committee meeting would still have 3 meetings that would be 2 weeks before each full commission meeting. And then our legislative checklist and education and outreach committee meetings would meet in, our legislative committee meeting would meet in April and August. Our checklist committee meetings would be in May and September, and our education and outreach committee meetings would be in April and July. So I'm happy to take, and then we would have just as because of holidays and other things, November and December would also be still be no committee meetings month. So I just wanted to share this. I believe that it's a good path forward. I've talked to Chair Downey about it as well. And I just wanted to put this for comments and suggestions and thoughts or concerns so that we can prepare to put the proposed meeting calendar up for a vote when we meet on October 25th. Thank you.
Thank you, Executive Director Dawson. Executive committee members attending, thoughts?
This is Commissioner Hesson. I chair the Education Outreach Committee. I mean, I'm okay with that. I was just thinking of, and I think I had shared this, with you, April, before, is the importance of keeping the momentum of subcommittee meetings going, just for engagement purposes and consistency. And I think what I'm in my head, and I'm just going back and forth with this, so excuse me, brainstorming, is that would that be more engaging if we're just meeting twice in the year? And I'm just debating that. So I just wanted to see what your thoughts were with that.
Thank you. This is April. Were you asking me to respond? I'm sorry. Wanted to make sure.
Yeah, I'm just putting it out there, but I mean, I know you have the statistics about the attendance and how whether we have quorum or not based on our committee meetings. But do you feel that twice would be sufficient in actually keeping the engagement up of our subcommittees?
This is April. I think one of the reasons why we're proposing the two meetings rather than the 3 is that we do notice that there is a lot of overlap in the agendas and the topics, and part of that is just because of government. The way that government flows is that a lot of the projects that we work on, continue throughout multiple quarters, and so we end up bringing a lot of the same things to the committees. And so we wanted to make sure that if we reduce it, we would be more intentional about co-creating the agendas with the chairs, as well as there would be more time in between meetings for us to come up with fresh information for you, to your point, for that engagement. So that is, in my view, even though even though I know that intuitively it sounds like reducing the number means less engagement, I actually think less could be more the way that we do our work.
Oh, okay, I could see that. And I also know that this particular committee really overlaps over all the committees, because our overall task and scope is basically putting out the information in a strategic manner from the legislative committee and the checklist committee on any projects that they're working on. So that's where I see our role, I think, really dovetailing into having more participation across the board. But I hear what you're saying. I'm open to it. I'm just my thoughts. Thank you.
It's Commissioner Dillard. again, thinking out loud here. When I first looked at this, I had the same type of, I guess, response. We're basically going from 3 to 2. So I understand that. But then I started looking at the January, February, November, December. That's 4 months out of the year that we're writing off. And I understand the logic with November, December. Then you have the beginning of the year, but it's like 4 months at one time. So I'm wondering about that. But then the other part I think I'm wondering about is we talked about going back and looking at our plan, strategy for the next 5 years or whatever. So I'm not sure what should come first. If we're going to look at our strategy for the next 5 years in terms of what we're going to be doing and focus it on, that might also have an impact in terms of maybe how some of these meetings are falling. We might create maybe something new. I don't know, which might have an impact on this as well. But I think my overall response is just, it just feels like we're cutting back a lot. That's my comment.
Thank you, Commissioners Dillard and El Hassan. I kind of looked at it, I had the same concern. And then the more I thought about it, what I came down to is I kind of like it because there's two things that are going to be going on while there's fewer commission meetings, executive committee meetings and committees, is that two things. One is we're going to be doing a lot more out into the community with our promotion of our toolkits and with our listening sessions. I think that's probably really very, very important work. And then secondly, I've found here at CCDA that a lot of the work is done with subcommittees and ad hoc committees, and those would still be going on. There might be more of those. And to be honest, that's where the real work gets done for the commissioners. And so my sense is that that's not reflected in here. And if you filled in with the listening sections and the toolkit promotions and the subcommittee meetings that we know that are going to happen, then it becomes a much more filled in, complete, comprehensive schedule.
That makes sense. Yeah.
This is Commissioner Lillibridge. I kind of have mixed feelings about this. Obviously, with all of us, most of us have other day jobs and we're busy and our schedules are very compact. So removing a meeting on the surface sounds great from a schedule standpoint. I guess the other side, and if I'm playing devil's advocate, which my wife says I'm really good at, is that if you miss a committee meeting, you basically are not meeting again with that committee for almost another year. So I kind of see a discontinuity if you do during the course of a year miss one of these committee meetings. Also, we are restricted by Bagley-Keene and we can't really get together as subcommittees and discuss things without, the public notification process and whatnot. So again, playing devil's advocate, I don't think this is a bad thing. I just think it's some things we need to consider, that there's the possibility of losing some continuity in certain things that we may be discussing at the committee level.
Hey,
I'm
any
sorry.
other committee members that would like to speak, or members of the public that, excuse me, would like to make a comment here?
This is Luciana Prefazza. And I think what fuels sometimes, if there's a meeting scheduled, it's important if at that meeting there are decisions to be made and something is clearly identified that needs to be accomplished during that meeting. So it's really, I think, contingent upon the chairs of the various committees and the members there to be very clear as to why we're coming together. I don't know enough about the past structure to know what was accomplished during each of those quarterly meetings, or so I guess that's my major comment, to look at what had been accomplished at those various meetings, and by restricting us to 2, if there won't be time to accomplish what needs to be done.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other commissioners or public members would like to speak to this?
Commissioner Jacqueline Jackson.
Hi, Commissioner, please go ahead.
Yes. I am not in favor of reducing the number of meetings that we have, committee and commission. I think that there's important things to do. And if we needed to, we talked about doing the meetings with the community. Maybe that could be the focus of one of the meetings, but I am not in favor of us having less meetings at all.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Appreciate that. Okay, without any further comments, let's see if Executive Director Dawson
Commissioner Hall.
has
Oh, there.
enough. As Director Dawson, do you have some ideas to think on here? Because you'll be reporting back at our full board meeting.
Thank you, Vice Chair Commissioner Holloway. I want to thank everyone for your thoughts. I think what might help is I'm happy to have conversations in between, during our one-on-ones. And I also think a common thread that I heard through the comments today is that I need to make sure that I'm sharing a better snapshot of our work plan for the year, which goes far beyond the chart that's on the screen. And so what I'll do is I'll work with staff to prepare to incorporate some more of a work plan snapshot into our calendar. Obviously, the commissioners wouldn't be voting on that because they've already voted on components of the work plan, but in other meetings. But I want to make sure that you have a better sense of what we're doing the early part of the year to live our mission, and what that means in terms of engagement and staff time as well as commissioner time. And I think if I do that, it could put these ideas for changing the calendar in context. And if it doesn't, obviously, we all serve at the pleasure of the commission, and you decide what's best to run the calendar. But feel it's important to share what the staff side's working on, as well as what the commission is working on in the community. So I will come back at the full commission meeting at the end of October with sort of a work plan snapshot, so that you could see all of the ways that we're living in the community. So that I hope that would put you at ease that we're not doing less, but actually trying to be more efficient and do more out in the community in between our meetings. So thank you for all of your comments and honesty.
Thank you, Director Dawson. I want to go back and make sure I got everybody's comments, whether it was commissioners or public on this item. Just want to make sure we got everybody's thoughts.
Commissioner Holloway, there are no hands raised at the chat or comments in the chat at this time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's move on to agenda item number 11, which is the full commission meeting. Director Dawson.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Vice Chair Commissioner Holloway. Our next full commission meeting is going to be on Wednesday, October 25th. It will be in person in Los Angeles from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Executive Director Dawson.
26th. Did I say 25th? And it's
no, your
faded out
audio
again.
was.
Oh, my audio is out again. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I apologize. Is it better?
It is
Much
better
better.
now.
Thank you. I'm really looking forward to our full commission meeting on October 25th at the Division of the State Architect's office in Los Angeles, as well as on Zoom, because our meetings are always hybrid. And so we are going to be conducting a pinning and welcome ceremony for Dr. Luciana Profazza. And we're going to be discussing many of the things that we talked about today, but in greater detail, such as the current projects and the bylaws. We're going to be having a conversation amongst the commissioners about how the commission can do more in terms of website access, violation assistance for small businesses, how we could talk to them about how to avoid alleged disability access violations, and any tips that we can offer, and ideas for how we can expand on what we're already doing to educate businesses about that. We also are going to be having a presentation about our collaboration with the Pacific ADA Center, because one of the things that I've heard the commissioner, many of you say on the commission, is that you'd love to hear about how we're partnering with other organizations, and you love to learn about what other organizations with similar missions are doing and how we can partner with them. And so I'm looking forward to talking about our webinar series in greater detail. And by then I will also have more information about the work plan for the year and the projects that we're working on. And I'll also answer those questions that came out of the financial report today. But it's going to be a full meeting, and just look for information coming from the staff about travel and other things for that day. And we're really looking forward to seeing everyone in LA or virtually on Zoom. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Director Dawson. Any questions from executive committee members virtually or present on our full committee meeting, commission meeting, excuse me? None appearing. Members of the public, any thoughts or comments?
Commissioner Holloway, there are currently no hands raised or comments from the chat from members of the public attending virtually.
Thank you, Steph. Thank you very much. Okay, just a reminder for the commissioners, please book your attendance at this meeting in LA. It'll be fun and good work. And also the architects, division of architect is always a great host for us. So we appreciate them. Any other comments on that? We would move on to agenda item number 12, which is the future agenda items for the committee and the commission. Any suggested future items?
Commissioner Holloway, there are no hands raised or comments in the chat from any commissioners attending.
Okay, anyone in the public have any suggested future items?
Commissioner Holloway, there are no hands raised or comments in the chat for future agenda items from the public.
Okay, lastly, I would just like to thank the executive committee members for attending today and your good thoughts, and also our public member guests. Thank you for your suggestions and ideas and thoughts. So appreciate those. And if there's no other items to discuss, I would move on to item 13, which is a motion to adjourn. Might we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a
Commissioner Lilliper
second.
seconds.
And Stephanie, do we need a roll call to adjourn?
That is correct. I
Okay.
can proceed with the roll call vote.
Please call the roll.
Okay. Commissioner Downey. Commissioner Holloway.
Aye.
Commissioner Holloway.
Aye.
Commissioner Dillard.
Aye.
Commissioner Elhessen.
Aye.
Commissioner Lemus. Commissioner Lillibridge.
Aye.
All right, we have the votes to proceed.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. See you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Aye.
Bye-bye.